Welcome, 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 welcome. How's everyone doing today? How is everyone doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're doing well. Who's ready for some news? Who's ready to cover some news? Dutch, how are you doing today? All right. Well, let's jump into the news for today. We got some exciting topics to go over. We've got IPSI. If you don't know what IPSI is, you're going to be excited because if what we needed was a new standard, we got exactly what we needed. Now, I actually have some high hopes of IPSI, but I'll let you be the judge of that. We have some interesting things that happened in security that we'll be covering, some that you probably should know about. And then later on, we're going to talk a little bit about AI, how it has a tendency of DDoSing valuable internet resources. And then we'll be moving on and finally live from the gulag. Yeah. So I'm gonna fix the background. I think I have a plan to fix it so that it doesn't look quite like it's live from the gulag. This is the background though, as it is. Like I said, I think I have a plan to make it look a little bit better. I thought about that, or just like going all out October Halloween on it. You know, like getting a skeleton or something. We'll see, but unfortunately, that's not like the theme. So, anyways, we'll probably get it fixed up. And it's also cold down here, okay? So don't. I thought about taking the. I need my hoodie. This is a little bit more annoying than my hoodie, but I promised I'm not trapped down here. I can escape. I don't have to escape. I can walk out of here freely. That was poor worded. Yeah. So, anyways, let's get into the news. All right. So, let's talk about Okta's mission to standardize identity and security. That's right. We're going to be talking initially about IPSI. That's how it's pronounced. I haven't asked anybody. I have just decided we're calling it IPSI. It was either that or IPC, which IPC is just confusing. So we're going with, or it's IPCA. Again, just not great. It's IPSI. IPSIA. Maybe IPSIA? I'm going with IPSI. It's easier to say. Anyways, I coined it. That's everybody has to go with it, even Okta. All right, so this is Okta's blog post on it, but the cool thing is there actually has been some further reach in the community. Do you guys like with the news? Would you prefer keeping just a very quiet background music? I usually have it quiet for this. You know what I could do? I could come up with a news section of music that's a little bit more calmer, maybe. That's what I'll do. And then I'll do it real low. And then you guys give me your feedback next week. All right. Is it a game changer yet? It's not a game changer yet. But one thing that I did want to point out, which is a good thing, is they already have partners with it. So IPSI is aimed at being secure by design and handling a large number of what we already have in the ecosystem. But what I wanted to point out is it's already being adopted by Microsoft, Google, Ping Identity, and Beyond Identity. And if it's being adopted by Okta, that also means Auth0 and all of the products by Okta. So it looks like it has some, at least two of the very large players, maybe three. It depends on what you think about beyond identities, reach in the identity. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I was sad to see AWS wasn't on this list. But it does seem like it's getting some reach, which really for IPSI to be it's important for it to get reach a lot of people, because it's meant to be a standard that basically is going to allow you to, drop all of that. Now, that being said, there is a working group that Okta has started. So if you want to be a part of the IPSI working group, I would recommend you go do that. Which is basically, there's a lot of integrations that they have to support in IPSI, so that it's the one-stop shop. And that's basically what that working group is going to be working on. And you should join it. Yeah, here's the IPSI. The OpenID IPSI working group overview. So if you're interested in that, you should go give it a check and see what it's all about. I'm actually really excited about this. Possibly, I realize we'll go back to the meme of what do we need? Yet another another standard, but hopefully this is one standard to rule them all. We'll see if it comes out that way, or if it just causes more fragmentation in an already fragmented community. All right. So let's talk about just security as a whole. There have been some interesting evolutions over the last 2 weeks in security. We're going to kind of go through these quickly. I'm not prepared to deep dive in all of them, but some of them you should know about. I'm going to drop this Ghost Strike. It's not something I've used, but I'm definitely going to load it on my VM and try it out. It's basically just a toolkit. So if you're interested in doing some ethical hacking, try hack me and stuff, there is the Ghost Strike that you can give it a shot. So yeah, it's an open source tool. It's kind of interesting. I haven't given it a shot yet, but it's definitely on my list of things to try. There is GitHub patches a critical flaw in an enterprise server allowing on. So this was actually a big deal. This CVE was a huge deal. No, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, well, it got a CVSS of a 10.0, which is the maximum. So if you're running GitHub, Enterprise on local servers, you need to patch this immediately. Basically, immediately. It has a 10 out of 10. What does a 10 out of 10 mean? 10 out of 10 means that it can be executed without your user involvement, and it's remote code execution, which means they get root of your system without your involvement. Now, that's not entirely true. You actually have to be running GitHub Enterprise server. But I mean, that's the only involvement that you need is running that. So definitely patch it right now. Absolutely right now. So go do that. Hopefully, if you're running GitHub Enterprise, I'm assuming that this is like an air-gapped environment. I'm assuming that you don't run Enterprise to then make it public, but maybe you do. And if you do, absolutely patch right now because you've already been taken. Already been taken. All right. There is a critical Kubernetes image builder flaw giving SSH root access to VMs. So this is again another really critical one. So I'd like you guys to go and read this if you're running Kubernetes. This gives an unauthorized user the ability to SSH to a node's VM, which uses a VM image built with the Kubernetes image builder project. So if you're using Kubernetes image builder, you need to be aware of this. There are other ones though. So Proxmox provider also had an issue which with a 9.8. 9.8 is effectively a 10.0. It means that it can be remotely done without really needing your involvement on it. So go ahead and go through this and check it out. Make sure that you're on top of it if you're using any of these projects. There was a record of 3.8 terabytes per second DDoS attack that was auto mitigated by Cloudflare. Now, they did say the largest ever disclosed publicly by an organization, meaning there could have been a larger DDoS attack. I actually, when they state this, it makes me think that they know of a larger DDoS that wasn't publicly. You know, if you didn't know, you wouldn't even think to say this. Right? Right? If you didn't know, because they get to see a lot of internet traffic, a lot goes through their backbone. And if you didn't know that there was a larger, you would say the largest ever, right? To the best of your knowledge. It's the largest ever. No one states this. The largest ever disclosed publicly by any organization. Right? I feel like that's right. Anyways, kudos to them. They detected and migrated it fully autonomously. So that's good on them. That's good on them. Was that the new LLM training program? Well, very interestingly, I think LLMs are one of the major causes of DDoSs nowadays. You know, maybe not purposeful, but we'll get into we'll get into a possible LLM DDoS in a second. It has LLMs have been verified to DDoS people. So people going out and training haven't respected other people's services and have just destroyed them in a matter of seconds by trying to get as much data and crawling it as fast and as hard as possible. If you are going to crawl the web, I have no problem with you crawling the web. You know, Google has done it for a very long time to bring you search. If you're going to crawl the web, do it responsibly. All right, just do it responsibly. That's my only ask and plea here. Especially if you have just a ton of money to have massive servers that can just do an amazing amount of traffic in a very short period of time. This is not a new place. This is the place I've been in with just without the black curtain. Which is better, this or the black curtain? Like I said, I am free to leave whenever I like. Look, I doxed myself on stream the other day, so you guys know that I'm not in Russia, okay? This is where I work, okay? Look, I almost have 6 feet of standing clearance down here, so I can almost stand up. I only need like 3 more inches. I wouldn't be able to stretch, but I'd be able to stand at least. It's pretty fantastic. It's pretty fantastic. I now feel like I should just embrace this and get like some pickaxe sounds. Actually, I get plenty of daylight because there's this window and then there's the window on this side. It's pretty good. All right, let's get back into the security. I'm in a highly secure facility right now. Trust me, no one gets in or out without being well vetted. Okay. 2 never before seen tools from the same group infect air gap devices. So I have covered a little bit of air gap attacks, the different ways people have used it. These 2 are very interesting if you're interested in it. I'm not going to dive too deep because we only have an hour, and there's actually an article that I really want to review with you all because I think it could be pretty interesting. The exact origin, possibly Russia. Anyways, they're pretty unusual and they're pretty interesting on how they air gap. I mean, we've covered so far a couple different ones, from the memory frequencies, like the frequency coming off of your memory running, to your power supply. So anyways, these are pretty interesting when it gets down to it. So definitely check it out if you're interested in that type of thing. And if you're interested in me covering this tomorrow, like more in depth, let me know and I can do it for sure. Yeah. All right. If you're using Apache Avro, there was a pretty big critical CVE 9.3, which means remote code execution maybe requires a little bit of your intervention. Not too much though. Just a teeny little bit. Scheme parsing in the Java SDK of Apache Avro, and previous versions allows bad actors to execute arbitrary code. Users are recommended to upgrade now, which fixes the issue. So there are two releases out that have the issues fixed, the new 1.12 and the 1.11. So yeah. If you don't know what Alvaro is, it's a data serialization framework, kind of like protobufers. And yeah, I think it's used in some databases for their schema. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. I didn't look that up. All right, and then the very last thing is Mozilla fixes Firefox 0-day actively exploited in attacks. So if you've been using Firefox, just consider your system to be compromised. Go ahead, nuke it, and rebuild it from scratch. If you're using Arch, this shouldn't be a problem. If you're using Windows, I'm sorry, my friend. Good luck. See you next week. And that's it for, but go ahead and update Firefox because, well, you should keep it up to date. You should keep your system up to date. That's the moral of the story. The Avro exploit will be a challenge on Hack the Box in 3 months. Maybe. Solidly possibly. All right. So let's talk about we got a couple interesting AI topics coming up. First, we're going to talk about the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive is maybe one of the most classically DDoSed, I'm going to say accidentally DDoSed systems out there. The Internet Archive has been involved in at least 3 accidental DDoS attacks. And this last one I'm going to list as the 4th, although the guilty party has not been identified. But it's very reminiscent of other attacks. But on top of that, we have a couple new research articles that I'm going to cover. I actually read all of the one by Apple, which actually was really, really cool. And I'm going to summarize it for you. Maybe better than an AI could. And then we're going to talk about the swarm being released. All right, let's get into it. The first thing, the Internet Archive Wayback Machine resumed in a provisional read-only manner. It was DDoSed for a solid half a day. It's back to normal if you want to go. As far as I know at this point, the Wayback Machine is fully operational, but they haven't actually released who or why it happened. But unfortunately, the Wayback Machine has been the target of many ML teams who decide to throw huge machines at as much network traffic as they can across the distributed network. Let's not do that anymore. Okay? Let's not do that anymore. You can read more on it. There's a lot of places that covered it, but as far as I know, they haven't actually released why or who DDoS them, but it is back online. Exactly. It annoys me so much because, like, you keep DDoSing public good places, right? Did they? I didn't hear about an actual attack. I didn't hear about an actual attack. They got accounts the day before? Okay. Well, they didn't tweet about that. I was trying to find from reputable sources on that. Internet Archive. Okay, so this was actually I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Then they DDoSed it the next day. Okay. So the DDoS wasn't the hack, but they just DDoSed it for kicks and giggles. Okay. Fantastic. That's not the most exciting. This is not the most exciting. Like, you probably should change your password for safe. Like, in theory, they should be safe anyhow. Like, they didn't leak plain text passwords. Yeah, my email has been leaked 20,000 times. So what's another time? Yeah. I mean, your email's been stolen. Your email's been stolen for a while. Okay, so this is what I was going off of. I saw the stuff on the actual DDoS, but not the breach prior to that. Well, that sucks. Equifax has joined the chat. Yeah, Equifax leaked my emails. Yeah, thanks, Equifax. Equifax isn't the only one, though, sadly. So, like, look, I look at this. And let's be real. As of what they stole, if this is what they stole, you know, I haven't gotten to go through this a whole lot. This is not a horrible breach. Now, what we would need to know, what we would need to know is that is if they were able to change data. I'm assuming they could. I don't know. That would be a big deal. If it's bcrypt hashed password, you should change your password. And hopefully you're not using that for anything else. But at the same time, it should be safe for a while. Yeah. Password managers, I have been saying this for years, and if a password manager wants to sponsor me, I would take it. Well, a few of them. There are some notorious. Last password, I'm looking at you. I would not take a sponsorship from you. I have some standards. But if you're not using a password manager, you're asking to have a very bad time. Why is the frames per second kind of low? The frames per second is not low, dude. 30 frames per second is pretty standard, right? I don't know. It looks fine to me. I think 30 frames per second is fine. Plus, the internet here is not great. I could do higher frame rates and lower quality. So I could do 60 frames per second and then not do it in a higher quality. I actually purposefully do 1440 because I stream a lot of text. And it makes it easier for you all to read as it gets encoded going up. As soon as I can get an AV1 encoding rig, I will get an AV1 encoding rig, which will let me do more. But that is what it is. So I prioritize the ability to read text over higher frame rates for sure. Easily. All right. Yeah. So if you had to ask me right now, 1Password and Bitwarden are my favorites. 1Password has more stuff, but you pay more for it. Bitwarden is like less featureful, but you like you can't. It's cheap for what you get. You can get like a family plan for like $5 a month, where like you can share specific passwords with like specific family member. It's actually pretty good. So Bitwarden and 1Password are yeah. Keep Acid, like I haven't used Keep that much. And by that much, I haven't used it at all. I've heard good things about it. Yeah, I don't know that. Look, the thing is, there's probably a $100 a month product that is better. But if people got just Bitwarden, which is cheap, and you're right, there's probably a lot better, they'd be in such a better place, right? So that's what I push towards. I'm actually open to looking at Keep. If you guys would like me to give it a test, do a review of all the password managers, maybe I could do that. I've used 1Password. I've used 1Password, LastPass, and Bitwarden. So yeah, I don't know. All right. Let's move on. Last thing here. Yeah. Okay. So that was the last thing on the Internet Archive. I didn't realize of the data breach. You should change your password for the Internet Archive if you're there. No, your email has been leaked again. And let's move on. Let's talk about a little bit more about AI. I guess that last one wasn't AI, so I was completely wrong. I was completely wrong. I'll admit it to you all. I thought it was just a DDoS. I missed the whole first part. I missed it, and that's my bad. I apologize. AI lied to me. I didn't use an AI to come up with anything, but I wish it had lied to me. Maybe I would have been able to come up with more stuff, made it a little bit fancier. Let's talk about whether AI is helping you at all when you code. Now, we have the AI games. If you guys don't know, next Wednesday or next weekend, we're talking Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're running the AI games. But for today, we're just going to have to deal with looking at a few studies that came out in the last few weeks. You'll see, I've seen some you'll see some reports that says devs gain little, if nothing, from AI coding assistants. And they all reference this one paper. Well, you're lucky I gave them my email address to get the paper. Now, UpLevel actually required you didn't give a .gmail email account. Thankfully, I have one that's not .gmail. That's not my work email either, that I gave them to get this study. Now, the study has both decent and horrible aspects. One, there's not enough information. It is literally just 2 pages. UpLevel, I'm calling on you to do better. Okay? If you did a study of this depth of 800 developers over a quarter, give some more data than 2 pages. That being said, from what they did give, it seemed like a fairly reasonable test. There are a few things to point out that need a little bit more explanation. The first is that analyze the difference in teams with and without Copilot access. This is actually a really interesting statement because this makes it seem like they don't know if the developers were actually using Copilot, just that they had access to Copilot. it seems hard to explain, but there are other things there then as well. So maybe they, the words escape me there. Anyways, there's a lot more to analyze there than just access to Copilot, because what if they weren't using Copilot? What if there was something else in the coding pipeline that caused them to have a 41% greater bug rate? Now, the interesting part, they did do this, they did it with a control group about this same size, and they actually watched these teams before they had access to Copilot. So we can kind of assume that this comes from Copilot, but it is assuming on a lot of things. And this is kind of classic of how these research studies goes. There's so many variables. Even when you look at the larger scientific ones that have tons of data that they release, you still have to end up reading the data, and you can read it how you want. Maybe there was something else that caused them. They tried as they go through here, they did try to ensure that that was about the only thing that was different between the two groups. Some people called that 800 developers wasn't enough, but 800 is a pretty good size of senior engineers. There's not that many senior engineers. So if you're just taking out senior engineers that all work on about the same type of projects, 800 is a pretty good sample size, in my opinion. So anyways, what do you think? What do you think? Now, like I said, we're going to be putting this to the test next week. We're going to test their abilities. We're going to be putting it to the test. And we're going to see how well it does. One of the things I hear people talking about is using it to learn with. I think it's an amazing tool to learn if you validate. I've seen it give me utter garbage enough times that it's almost like when you learn Mandarin Chinese and you don't learn the tones and you speak Mandarin. And like the people can kind of understand what you're saying, but they also understand that you never learned the tones. I almost feel like if you learn with AI, that's what's going to happen, is you're going to learn things, but you're also going to be just wrong on some things as well. And you're going to have a misconstrued understanding of the language. That's my worry of a system like that. Will they be able to understand you? Yeah, probably. Probably. Will it be right? Maybe you're missing a whole subject, but I don't know. Right. That's kind of the difference. Imagine going to Albert Einstein and saying, make this function that does this thing for me, versus asking Albert Einstein, how do I learn how to do this thing? Yeah. And, I also think that it's better in that case for people who are well adapted at teaching themselves. You can kind of if you're good at teaching yourself, you can probably understand, when it's a valuable tool and when it's not a valuable tool, and when to check with different resources and whatnot, and when you need to actually talk to a real human. And I'm just using the conversation, not that this is with anything. So I feel like that's that's part of learning how to learn. And if you've done that, then it's probably a really great tool. If you haven't learned how to learn, then I think you need to do that. And I'm not sure AI is there for that just yet. Now, let's move on to another very interesting research article that was much more well done than that one. And this is the GSM Symbolic Understanding of Limitations of Mathematical Reasoning in Large Language Models. Now, if you don't know the company that did that, this was done by a small little scrappy startup, Apple, who had a team of very, if you guys don't know, I actually don't know a whole. I know Iman. That's actually. Anyways, these are their AI researchers, and there's a really cool thing that they did with the machine learning. I put the link into the document, but I'm gonna summarize it for you all. It was a really cool test, and this is actually one of the things that we do in the AI games. Which is actually pretty cool. One of the things that they were trying to test is there's this test that is called the GSM 8K, which is actually used to test AI's reasoning abilities. But one thing I had reasoned was, and we had actually proven, was that these AIs had been trained on this type of data. And thus, it was statistical analysis, and statistical analysis made it seem like they were reasoning about this, but it was because they were actually trained on the data somewhere, whether it was a blog post talking about how to solve this GSM 8K problem or whatnot. So what they did is they went through the GSM 8K and basically replaced just names. So they went through here, and so they took stuff like when Sophie watches her nephew to when Name watches her family member, and just replaced those, and some very, very few other things. Everything else was left word for word, which is actually, we're in the AI games. I wrote my entire own. I made my own advent of code problem. But what we're going to do is we're going to do two. We're going to do my own advent of code problem. And now, based off of this research, we're going to do one of the advent of code problems from last year, but we're going to change the name. We're going to change some of the values, and we're going to see if it's able to give us the second part like it had in the very first time. So anyways, it was a really, really cool. They found out that basically it can't, because, and this is something I've been telling you for months, maybe years at this point, it is statistical analysis. And what statistical analysis does is says, hey, what should the next word do? And it's using a very complicated matrix to do what should the next word be. But what they found out was it can't do this. And it would get these wrong at a very high error rate. I forget what the end error rate is, but it was something like much worse. There we go. Much worse than what they do without it. So, anyways, I forget the exact numberage, but it was statistically worse. They did still do it. So anyways, it's worth it to read. It's a pretty long. It took me a little while to go through all of the data. Let's talk about up level. When you do something like this, this is the type of amount of data. I haven't even gotten through all of the data. But yeah, like with the Phi 3 mini model experiencing a 65% drop. You can skip to the overviews instead of understanding every piece of data that's going in on here. This is pretty big deal. They tested on a bunch of them. I know ChatGPT was involved in that. I know that Llama was involved in that. Yeah, O1 Mini, O1, or O1 4 Llama. There was a couple other ones that were tested as well. I think they tested like 4 or 5. Yeah, 4.0 Mini, Gemma 5.3.5 Mini, 5.3 medium, O1, and I know they also tested Llamas as well. So, you think you need an LLM to go over the data? Did you not read that one? That AI summarizations are notoriously bad? Or worse than a human summarization? That was a study 2 weeks ago that we covered. 3 weeks ago now? 3 weeks ago that we covered. So yeah, get LLM to summarize something for you. This is my worry. If you're using it as a tool to learn and you have it summarize stuff for you to learn faster, is it pulling out the right information? I just worry. That's my worry with it. All right. Let's talk about the swarm. Let's talk about this. Not a daunting name at all. OpenAI releases Swarm, an experimental AI framework for building, orchestrating, and deploying multi-agent systems. So I haven't found too much information on this. Now, this was released under, I believe it's released under the MIT. MIT. It's all Python, which hurts me. And it has like a little bit of usage, which we're gonna try this. It basically allows you to leverage multiple AI agents. And now it says orchestrate, which makes me think, I don't know what it means by orchestration. Like, does this mean over a cluster of machines, or does it just mean like 2 agents that you're using locally? I think it's on the same machine, where you can basically, everything that I saw in the examples, but examples are meant to be short and easy. So I don't know. I actually put this on the tier 1 stretch goals. So if we get enough people coming to the AI games to watch, this will be in the next weekend as a thing that we can do. So yeah, give it a test. See if we can't do something with it. Yeah, distributed automation. Yeah, Swarm is also, yeah. If you don't need to be, so there was some math in this. If you're wondering if you can read it, you can read it. There is some math, and I mean, like, to understand it, you need to know like standard deviations, like a classic bell curve. You need to understand just a little bit of that type of math. There is some other math that they go into with like the different models, from Minstrel 7B to all the different ones that they tested. On it, there is some AI statistical math that they go into. You don't really need to understand it to go into like the overviews, right? Yeah. So yeah, we'll put this out there as something that we'll do the next weekend after the AI games. If people join the AI games and we get the number of people that we want, so that'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll give it a shot. All right. Let's move on. We got to go quickly. Oh, we got to go quickly. We've taken too much time. All right. We have some open source / engineering news. It's not fully. We're going to go quickly over this. Then we got our cloud news. And then we have the article that StatefulSets suck. And we might postpone that till tomorrow. Because I'm really interested in that article. So I want to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, understand it, talk about it, giving you my thoughts on stateful sets. And yeah, we'll move on. All right. Qualcomm cancels the Snapdragon dev kit, refunds all orders. So Jeff Gerling posted this. I guess this is a Windows, Snapdragon dev kit for Windows. I don't know who orders a dev kit for Windows. That seems fishy to me from the get-go. I feel like that would alert scam alerts. It's kind of sad for the people who were looking for it. The Windows devs looking for a ARM dev box. So I'm kind of sad. You know, this wasn't something I was particularly looking forward to. I actually did think a little box like this would be great for a streaming PC, having the little ARM chip. As long as that ARM chip, and I don't know if the Snapdragon X could, but if the Snapdragon X could do AV1 encoding, this could be an amazing little streaming PC setup. So I am actually kind of, and if you don't know, streaming, the software available for streaming on Windows and Mac is just way better than the stuff on Linux. We can do it on Linux, no problem, but I actually would like the streaming PC to be either Windows or Mac. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I'll be watching this. It's kind of sad, but they basically pulled the plug on it. So if you were looking forward to that, I'm sure you got an email. Cloud Native Computing Foundation announces that the Cube Edge has been graduated. There's a couple different ways of doing Edge stuff in Kubernetes, different ways of thinking about Edge, whether that's running Kubernetes on the edge or Cube Edge. It takes the approach of not running Kubernetes on the edge and basically letting nodes have limited access to the main cluster and not expecting them to always be available. So this is actually a really cool thing. I think that this is much more, Cube Edge looks at like IoT Edge and is kind of a very interesting project. I like it. I haven't used it a whole lot, but I still like it. So congratulations to them. Shout outs to them. Deno 2.0 arrives, ready to battle Node.js. Now, I haven't given it a shot, and I was going to do it tomorrow. I was just going to try to do their quick start, just a quick Deno quick start. Now, we'll see if they fixed it, because I have it on good authority that their quick start didn't work for Deno 2.0, that their documentation wasn't updated for it, and it like the run one command and it works didn't work. So we'll see tomorrow if that's still true. But major update to the Deno runtime for JavaScript, TypeScript, and WebAssembly is backward compatible with Node.js and stabilizes the standard library. So we'll see tomorrow if Deno 2.0 is battle ready. We'll see if it's battle ready. Google is preparing to let you run Linux apps on Android. This is awesome. You know what having a full terminal on your phone would be like? Absolutely horrendous, okay? Absolutely. Now, I love the idea of running Linux apps on Android. I love the idea. I don't know who wants to run a terminal on your phone. I'm just not sure. Just not sure these days. Now, it's interesting because one thing that I thought of, not that I want to do this with the terminal, but Git on my phone would be really cool to synchronize files with, right? My notes with Obsidian are in Git, right? And I could have those on my phone in Obsidian via Git. So there are some interesting aspects of this. But we'll see. We'll see how useful it actually is. Get grumpy. I like giving Torvalds a hard time. The complaint about passive voice in merge commits message. I try to make my merge commit message somewhat cohesive so that and so I often edit the pull request language to match the more standard layout and language. It's not a big deal. I have to commend him. A few years ago, he would have been yelling and screaming and cursing somebody out over something like this. And often it's literally just about white space so that we don't have 15 different indentation models and bullet syntaxes. You know what? I feel like if I was Linus, I would ask somebody to write a little thing for Linux kernel pull requests that basically goes through and rebulletizes them to the standard way. Maybe an LLM. Would an LLM maybe be good at this? An LLM might be really good at this. Just a local, easy to run app that runs it through a really small local model. I feel like this would be a cool example of an LLM. Anyways, moving on. Winamp. I talked about Winamp a little bit. I don't read source available things, so I never looked at the GitHub, but the GitHub was atrocious. I actually watched or listened to some commentary on it. And they have finally deleted their open source repository. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of a shame. Unfortunately, they posted code that they didn't have the license to post. That was licensed by people like Adobe. It also seemed that the people that were posting it didn't really know how Git worked, because they would remove the file and make a commit. But like, as all of us knows, that still means that that code that was from Adobe and whatnot was still available. It was still in the repository. Like, you could go get it still. They were still publishing it at that point. So yeah. All right. That gets us through our general. Who's ready for some interesting cloud news? I got some pretty cool stuff from AWS and GCP. Sadly, the only thing that we got from Amazon was a demand that come into the office 5 days or quit. That was the only thing that we got from Amazon. So let's talk about Azure first. I know I never go Azure first for the news. Let's do Azure first. Dare I say Drasi. I don't know if it's Drasi. I'm going to go with Drasi. All right. Drasi is an interesting project for change detection in your database. Now, what's even more interesting is its fantastic Apache 2 license, or that it's in Rust. I'm not sure either of those matter, but they're there. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about Drasi. Welcome to Drasi. What is it? What is it getting started? So what it supposedly tries to do, I say supposedly because I haven't tried it, not that it doesn't do it, but it looks for changes in databases and kind of allows you to alert on them. Now, all of their examples here were in Postgres. I don't know if it only supports Postgres or if there's a possible chance that it does something else. But if you're trying to do change detection in Postgres and have been wanting to know, there's a new project out there. It's written in quite possibly the best language that exists today. And yeah, it seems like an interesting project. So give it a check. And if that's something you've been struggling with, there's other projects that try to do this. But yeah, there's this one now. Yeah. Please don't just be a loop. I hope that I hope that the continuous queries are smart. Like I said, I haven't gotten to use it yet. Where some of these change detect systems can actually basically, and I don't know how this one works. It can kind of be like a write through cache where it gets the request and then it writes it to the database where it's looking for those changes that you're alerting on. Some are really, really dumb where they're just pulling. And then there are some that try to be a little bit smarter about the pulling. I don't know everything into it. I just saw them release it. Microsoft made a big deal about it. Microsoft's newest open source project simplifies change detection and reaction in complex systems. So another thing that it does do, it does give you the ability to handle reactions from that. I don't know. I'm going to say in a cool way. I don't know if it's cool. I haven't tried it yet. Some things that sound cool aren't cool when you actually try using them, but it's there. It's cool. It's interesting. It's another good Rust project. I was looking through this. It looks pretty well done. If you want to go through how they organized it and whatnot, if you're learning Rust, it's very Microsoft-y. If you go in and look at it, you'll be like, this is Microsoft Rust, which is fine. But yeah, it seems to be pretty well done. So if you're trying to learn Rust, there's a pretty good example out there. Another one. And then maybe a cool project if you're trying to do that. In other news of Microsoft, we have generally available of the ED255-19 SSH support in Linux VMs. So if you don't know, ED255-19, I always want to say 2555, and that's just wrong. Anyways, ED255-19 SSH keys are more secure, more resistant to hacking, and they're now supported. So if you do use Linux VMs in Azure, you should go and start using them right now. General availability is the Azure Cobalt 100 ARM-based virtual machines. So if you're wanting to get on those sweet ARM machines, start saving yourself a little bit of money. I am not paid by Azure to say this. Supposedly they deliver really great performance. I've only done a few little tests with them at this point. They seem to perform well. And are generally a little bit cheaper to run than your other ones. So yeah, all the tests that I have run so far in every cloud, ARM, as long as your workload runs well on ARM, generally is cheaper to run on. Now there are caveats to that. One thing people don't realize is the hardware encoding that comes with their CPU. So if you're doing mutual TLS, That's probably not true. If you're doing mutual TLS where everything has a TLS connection to everything else, Intel has TLS hardware. So that's offloaded from the CPU. And that's actually a big deal. Can be a very big deal. So it's not entirely true. You can't just do it. You have to look at what comes with that processor, what type of hardware comes with it. Because the ARM ones notoriously come with less of those types of things, those encoding offloads. So anyways, that's just my one caveat to that. But if you're talking about a standard web server, a lot of the times they're just as fast or faster. All right. In GCP, in RoboCop, I've never watched RoboCop, so I don't know if ED 255.19 was that? I don't know. Do we need to look that up? RoboCop bad guy name. Dirk Jones. I feel like I was super lied to. It's ED 209. Okay. All right. So a cool thing that I have claimed for the last 2 years would be a cool thing for AI, because we're talking statistical analysis. It's like people are listening to me. Reduce unexpected costs with new AI-powered cost anomaly detection. This is a fantastic use of our current AI, is looking for spikes, looking for abnormal things happening, and trying to help alert you and stop you ahead of time. I think this is a great start, Google. I think that this is a good place to be going. And it's one of the things I have literally said should be an AI thing. 100%. So really cool. If you're on GCP, you might look at enabling this and saving yourself a few $1 million when you accidentally spin up way too many machines on accident. All right. The last thing from Google was introducing Google Cloud's new vulnerability reward program. This is separate from Google. So basically, Google itself. 1 second. Sorry about that. All right. Introducing Google's new Google Cloud vulnerability. Now, Google has always had a vulnerability program, and you could submit GCP issues through Google Cloud or through Google's normal one. But this is one specifically for Google Cloud. They have a top reward of 101,000. If you get it, they're being $101,010. They're being cute with their numbers here. They're being cute with the binary. We get it, Google. We see what you're doing there. Anyways, there's now one specifically for GCP. So if you're looking to submit something for a vulnerability to GCP, they actually have their own reward program specifically for that. And they're looking to basically streamline the requests. So like if it's for GCP, it doesn't have to go through all of Google's stuff. It can go straight to the people responsible for it. And Azure had absolutely nothing. The only thing Azure released was a mandate that if you don't want to come to the office, go ahead and quit. I do actually, with their latest statement this last week, I do believe it was more of a way to not let people go and not pay them severance. If you do a layoff, you have to pay them severance. And if you get people to just quit, it's cheaper. It feels that way more now. So yeah, we'll see if that holds true. AWS. What did I say? Did I say somebody else? I meant AWS. That's all AWS has released. They haven't. I read through the first 2 pages here. There was nothing interesting. Out of the first 2 pages. If I missed something, you guys know. Let me know in the comments. I did not mean Azure. Azure actually made the inverse statement. The last thing that we were going to talk about, but I do not have the time because I haven't read this article. I feel like I don't know what I feel. I actually just really want to read this article and talk about it with you all. So I'm going to do this tomorrow. During my Saturday stream. And we'll talk about it because I don't know. I don't know what I feel about this. So I want to see what they have to say, try to understand what they're trying to do. I mean, Timescale is running Postgres in Kubernetes. They use a Kubernetes operator already to manage stateful sets. I know those types of things, and it seems like they're moving away from stateful sets at all. But how they're going to do that, that's kind of what I'd like to know. So that being said, very interesting. But I don't have the time to do it today. Thank you all for joining me. I know I missed last week because I was on work travel. Next week's news will kick off the AI games. Think about that. Next week's news will kick off the AI games. I'm thinking about doing the news 2 hours early. 2 hours early. Join the Discord right now if you want to be in the know and in the loop. Come to the office so you get those sweet Zoom meetings. Absolutely. Join the Discord because I'll be releasing more information on that. Tomorrow, I'm releasing all the calendar invites and everything. So if you want to put it on your, I have a Google Calendar. You can go see it in your time zone. We'll be kicking it off on Friday. We're going to do the news first, and then we're going to jump right into the AI games. This is going to be fantastic. We got all Friday. We got all Saturday. We got all Sunday. And if you guys help me reach some viewership goals, we'll do it the next weekend too. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Just beat the hackers to it. Just post all my information publicly so that the hackers don't have any information to leak. That sounds like a good idea. I'll start with my social security number. I'll move on then with my bank account numbers and things like that. I'll also list all my past pet names when they died. Exact dates, too. That way there's nothing to leak. Nothing to leak. All right. Well, tomorrow you're going to see a little bit of a transformation back here. I want your guys' feedback. Do I just embrace this, or do we go with the transformation that we're doing tomorrow? Give me that feedback tomorrow. Let me know what you like. Do I get the sound of background pickaxes going? Or I have no idea. Anyways, I got 10 minutes. I need to go make a cup of coffee before I jump into another meeting. So anyways, I will see you guys around tomorrow and a lot next week. Embrace this or try to escape. Sponsored by Equifax. I'm telling you what, sponsorships are so weird to me. Like, I don't know how to even do a sponsorship because I've thought about reaching out to some companies, but I don't know how to even broach that because, like, to me, I would love to have a sponsor of the AI games, but the sponsor would almost have to be something that was not related to AI, right? Because I would never want somebody to feel like there was an ulterior motive behind the AI games. And I feel like there's a ton of stuff that I could do with a sponsorship, because there's like some training and stuff and other things like that that would be really fun to do, and really test some of those capabilities. And I can't do with losing money on running. I lose money running the AI games. So I would love to like try to get a sponsor, but who would sponsor that? That wouldn't ruin the integrity of the games. See, I don't understand. I don't know. Ask NVIDIA, they would win no matter who wins. Okay, that's a good point. Somebody like NVIDIA, maybe, right? It doesn't risk the integrity of the games. NVIDIA is not going to sponsor me, but somebody like NVIDIA, I need somebody that would want my sponsorship. That's probably nobody, but why not? I stream to 15 viewers. That's on a good day, which is today's a good day. So thank you everybody for being here. You are the Raid Shadow Legends. I 100%, I'm telling you all this right now. If Raid Shadow Legends ever comes to me, I will take a one-time sponsorship. 100%, because it would be so funny. 100%. I would take a one-time Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship. Okay, I don't know that that's actually true. I find it funny, but then like, it's probably not funny. It's like I consider it a meme. If you put that you're sponsored by Raid Shadow Legend, I feel like that's a meme. You're just memeing on yourself. Anyways, yeah, Raid Shadow Legends would not taint the AI games. They would taint the AI games. They would just not. Whatever. Okay. Yeah, I just feel like somebody like NVIDIA isn't going to care about 15 viewers. Maybe I'm wrong. Possibly I'm wrong. Hopefully this AI game, we get much more than that. So the next year's AI games, I can go to them and be like, hey, look, we had 50 people. You know, maybe 200 unique people, 50 average viewers. That would be amazing. That's something I could take to somebody. So that's why I'm trying to do a good job with this round. Yeah. So hopefully next year I could work with somebody and get somebody like NVIDIA. You know, I would love like sponsorship. I don't need money. Like, let me give access to a machine, or maybe even some expertise. Maybe they would like to have an engineer or two work on some of the demos and stuff and testing some stuff. Would love to work with them on that type of stuff. So maybe. So that being said, invite all your friends for next weekend. Make sure that there are a lot of people here. Make sure your grandmother and grandfather join in, watch, enjoy, interact. And we'll see. We'll see if we can't do more in the future. I will. I'll email him. All right, I will try that. I'll email some people. I'm probably not going to get a sponsorship for this week, this upcoming week, but for the next one, hopefully we'll find somebody to do it. And I will be picky because like I said, I don't. I would love the sponsorship because I could do more for you all, and do more with it. Yeah. But I don't want to ever weaken the integrity of any of the stuff that I do. So also, that would be a call to you guys. Let me know if you guys ever think that if I ever do get a sponsorship and you guys think that that sponsorship is not a great one, we won't have it anymore. You know, there's always vetting processes that you can go through, but there's only so much a one-person team can do. So we'll see. We'll see how that evolves, but always give me your feedback. I'm always open to it. I now only have 3 minutes, so I have to go. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. See you tomorrow. Hopefully, see you next weekend with your friends, family, great uncles that you haven't seen for 3 years. Invite them to it. Don't do that. That might be weird. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.